Hi, I'm Jeff Murrow. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, and I'm glad you're here with us today. Today, I'm continuing my series of going through the various counties and talking about the history of some of the people there. And the county today is Bastrop County. Now, Bastrop County, they had some tough people in the past, and I can understand why they would put up a memorial, because they had a reputation. And, in fact, at one point there was a military training institute, Texas Military Training Institute, something like that. I forget its exact name. It was run by a fellow by the name of R.T.P. Allen. And the school was known for taking in the sons of the most prominent families of Texas. Now, R.T.P. Allen had also been trained at the West Point, so he had some valuable military training, and he trained some of these men in Texas in that. And when the war broke out, he went ahead and volunteered his services, and he was one of the best drillers in terms of training men. Right? Many times the men under him disliked his methods, but they were effective. And he went on to be the initial commander of the 4th Texas. Now, he left the 4th Texas later and was responsible for raising a different regiment that came largely from Bastrop, the 17th Texas Infantry, and I'll talk more about them later. But with the 4th Texas and the training that he gave them in the early days of the South, when the Texas Brigade, especially the 4th Regiment of Texas Soldiers, paraded, it impressed the generals there, and also the president. President Jefferson Davis made the famous quote that the troops of other states have their reputations to gain. The sons of the Alamo have theirs to maintain. He was so impressed, and that quote always stuck with me, men of Bastrop were part of that. And besides being contributing to the 4th Texas Infantry with the Bastrop Academy, they also had a lot of men that were in the 17th Texas Infantry, the 12th Texas Cavalry, which I've talked about. That's also known as Swamp Fox Regiment, and also the 8th Texas Cavalry, which is Terry's Texas Rangers. Now, I could go on for hours about Terry's Texas Rangers, and I've probably given a couple of dozen talks on Terry's Texas Rangers. And so when I come across the same regiments again, I try to present a little bit different angle. Now, Terry's Texas Rangers, these were some tough hombres. For instance, they were under, keep in mind the war lasted roughly about 1,300 days. Okay, 1,302 if you want to get exact. But in those 1,300 days, Terry's Texas Rangers as a military unit was under fire 1,000 of those days. And for any regiment to be under fire that long is amazing. And howdy. And the thing is, most military regiments, when they're under fire, when it gets to be close to 200 days of combat, they start experiencing severe PTSD. These men were under fire over 1,000. I mean, that sounds extraordinary, but when you look at the record and what all they did, they were not only under fire that many days, they also fought, I believe, across 7 states during that time. They were in Tennessee, they were in Alabama, they were in South Carolina, they were in North Carolina, they were in Georgia, they were in Kentucky. This regiment ended up producing several generals. You had General Thomas Harrison, which is part of the only set of 3 brothers that became generals. The Harrison brothers, there were 3 brothers, and each of the 3 became a Confederate general. You also had General John Wharton, and and these men rose to fame largely on the backs of the volunteers who served under them. And the men of Bastrop County was a big part of it. I mean, it would be a shame to remove that, because, you know, I mean, as part of the inscription, they wanted people to remember the deeds of these men. I mean, men who would stay there and fight that many days and not give up. And you know what's amazing about it? Their desertion rate was, let's see if I can find that real quick. When you consider that, see, I've written it here. You know, when you take the Terry's Texas Rangers out, the next longest amount of days that an American military unit has been under fire is 305. Think about that. Terry's Texas Ranger has been under spent more days under fire by 3 times more than the longest U.S. military unit, which was 2nd Infantry Division. And the Rangers' desertion rate was 0.1%. And the usual desertion rate in the Army is 3.41%. Think about those numbers. To be under fire that many days and only have a desertion rate like that. You know, if you've done any study of military, you know, once men get under fire, you know, somebody shooting at them and firing cannons and stuff like that, taking that trip home looks awfully enticing. And a lot of men did it, but not Terry's Texas Ranger. These were men that were committed. I like the words of one soldier who was in the 4th Texas Infantry that had a lot of men from Bastrop. You know, he said that he got in line to march, and it didn't. His adventure didn't end for 3.5 years. But anyways, it would be a shame to disgrace the honor of these veterans by going ahead and removing their monument. You know, almost like saying, "Who cares? We're not interested. We don't care about your sacrifice." I do, and that's why I want you to know at least a little bit of their stories before people rush out and just try to destroy things. But I wanted to let you know about the men of Bastrop County and the mighty reputation that those folks earned. A lot of times in modern Texas you don't hear a lot about Bastrop, but in the early days it was a very important community that made major contributions to Texas and its legacy. So until next time, I wish you well. Vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.